Hey YouTube, here I am again with an interesting piece. This is the PRG-600. It's a Casio from the Pro Trek series, which is a series of trekking sports watches. It only has 100-meter water resistance, so cannot really be considered a dive watch. Nevertheless, I've had this watch for around about 4 years. That's why you can see it has some nicks and dings, which more or less time has paid its tribute here. But it is a watch which I think is, let's say, it's surprisingly good in the long run. It is simply a reliable, very sturdy watch. It's taken a lot of beating, and especially because I guess I've worn it in all kinds of situations, not really worrying about whether it will resist or not. It has done really well. It's a quartz movement, so as you can see, the second hand swipes across in second intervals. So the movement, I'm not that well versed on the Casios, but as we know, Casio is a major producer of watches nowadays, and the Casio, I guess, nothing inspiring or really worth investigating in terms of the technology behind it. So it's just a reliable movement, and this watch, as you can see, has a stainless steel bezel. This watch comes in all kinds of different designs. I have this one, which a good friend of mine actually presented to me some time ago, 4 years ago. And I've had it on my wrist a lot of times, many hours. And as you can see, the stainless steel bezel in this case, which reflects this time zone function it has. We see the abbreviations of all the 29 time zones or cities that you can set a different time for. It has dual time in this case. So the bezel is not it's not movable. It doesn't turn like on a dive watch. It's a fixed stainless steel bezel. That the casing, the housing, is actually a resin-based housing. We have a stainless steel case back, which is held in place by 4 screws. So a very reliable watch. At least for swimming and for surface activities on the water. It has a 10-bar reading here of water resistance, and as you can see, it carries the model number PRG-600YBE, and the the tough solar naming here, which I guess indicates that it is, or it's the movement type in there, which is a solar charged movement with a backup battery there. So there's no need to replace the battery. That's the state of the art. It really has a lot of functions. As you can see, it has pusher buttons, no screw down buttons. So it has 4 push buttons, which are kind of, they have a kind of tread for grip, and they're very close into the case, so it's just around about 1 millimeter that you can push it in. Function works perfectly well. We have a screw down crown here, which has a very good feel to it. It's really smooth. But it does not have a real hacking or adjusting function of the hands. So this really works by adjusting the digital time, which, as you can see, this is a Digi-Ana concept. We have this face of the watch with the hour hand, the minute hand, the second hand, and then we have a pretty good LCD display, which has a high contrast and is readable in almost all situations, I would say. And the face, the watch face, as you can see, we have the numerals here, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, which are clearly legible. We have some loop there, which also works in the dark. So some of the functions that we have here, this is a so-called triple sensor watch. It has a sensor for the temperature. It, as you can see here, is on the face. You can see it has the altimeter, which will give a reading of the altitude, which is of course not calibrated. It is just a rough estimate. I'm sitting here, and we're not at 33 meters. Usually it will show 10 meters, which is more to the, which is more accurate, I would say. So it just gives you a reference. Wouldn't really use it for anything that is, let's say, safety relevant. Up here we have the compass. So we have a compass function, a magnetic electronic compass, which, it basically will point to the north, and then it will just keep pointing there and give you directions on the LCD display. So that's pretty cool. Then also we have a temperature function. Actually, in this setting I have here now, this is more a standard setting. You can see the day, the date, and the month. So it's kind of a date display. This is the barometer, which will give you the surrounding air pressure, and temperature, as mentioned, showing 32.6 now. This is, of course, if you have it on your wrist, of course, the temperature will not really show. The surrounding temperature will be more or less displaying or influenced by the body heat. So also not, it's just a gimmick, a useful gimmick, no doubt. Just gives you a rough estimate of the temperature, I would say. Recall will give you the min-max readings of the past. So I have some min-max here, altimeter. I have a stopwatch function here, 24 hours of stopwatch capability, a timer, 60-minute timer. Then we have 5 alarms, daily alarms that can be set. Of course, it also has an hourly chime, which gives you a reminder every full hour. And this world time and home time. So basically you have 2 time zones that you can set in here, and based on the towns, the cities that are marked on the bezel, you can quickly adjust it to a new time zone. So that is pretty good. We have more or less, we have a sensor here, which would be the barometer, probably some kind of a pressure sensor, reading the surrounding pressure, and it gets the height, or calculates the height based on the surrounding pressure. I would assume that's probably how they estimate the height. Pro Trek. As you can see here, there are many different variations of this watch. There's a safari version, there's some black version, color versions, and interesting, this kind of coding here will differentiate some of the watches. I have white coding here, so there are different color codes which reflect different models. The wristband here, as you can see, I have this kind of khaki wristband here, which is of cloth canvas, and I must say it really is good. Even these keepers, they look a bit flimsy. It's just some kind of PVC material, but as I mentioned, 4 years of let's say banging and beating have not caused any damage. It's all in perfect condition. It's not worn, frayed, or no signs of major, let's say, wear. I haven't given it a real wash, to get the color back, but it could easily be done. And then we have a locking mechanism here for the lugs, which gives you the opportunity to exchange the wristband. So that comes in with two versions. We have the canvas, and then we have this soft silicone band, which gives the watch a little bit more of this LCD electronic watch look. I prefer it on this khaki wristband, which is extremely comfortable, robust, and the whole watch comes in at I think less than 80 grams, 85 grams, something around there. It is big though, 51 millimeters across here, about 13.4, I think, 13.8, somewhere around there, thickness. So it is a big watch, but it wears really light, and the thickness is still within a range where you can wear a shirt and put it under the cuff. It still works. I have an 8-inch wrist, so that fits me perfectly well. If you have a smaller wrist, could look over-dimensional. Talking about wrist, we're doing a little wrist check today. Got the Kinetic Tuner here, 200-meter water-resistant, which, as you can see, is currently in the power saving mode. This bugger here really is a nuisance to charge. It really needs a lot of active movement to get it charged. But anyway, now you won't have these issues with the Pro Trek here. Have never had any issue in terms of it losing power. It's totally maintenance free. And I do have some other solar watches, so even within the solar power watch range, there are differences. Some require simply, or the power consumption is higher, so they require much more and frequent charging. This one is really very low key. It doesn't require much energy, obviously, and runs really good. Assembled in, cased in Thailand, Japanese movement. The Japanese movement, this is a mass-produced quartz movement, so that's nothing really exciting. Cased in Thailand, many watches nowadays they produce, or they have production lines in Thailand, and in this case, I must say they did a good job of casing it, no issues. So I would say, in summary, this is a watch which, it is in the mid-range for the Casio. It's considered a mid-range watch, but of course still quite affordable, and simply a watch you can obviously wear for a long time. If you take better care of it, then you'll also sustain a clean bezel here with no nicks and dings. Actually, all the rest of the watch is fine. It's just the edges here are quite exposed, so they usually get a knock. And even the crystal, which is only a mineral crystal, is well protected. It is slightly recessed, flat crystal. A mineral crystal, but it did not get any scratches. All right, guys, that sums it up. All right, take care. Thanks for watching.